Breaking news right now, first here on the 19, and this is in South Louisville at the moment. This all happening within the past 30 minutes. You take a look at the large plume of smoke coming there, right there in the middle of your screen. We are monitoring some kind of fire. This is right off the Waterston Expressway between Dixie Highway and Taylor Boulevard in the south end. Again, you can see the large plume of smoke coming from that area. Now, it's unclear tonight if this involves a possible vehicle on fire or some other kind of structure in the area off the roadway. Now, we are talking to authorities, and WHAS 1119 photojournalist Emma Gefter will actually be at this scene very shortly. This view coming to you from the Trimark cameras in the area there at the south end. Again, this is some kind of structure, some kind of fire underway right off the side of the Waterston Expressway in the south end between Dixie Highway and Taylor Boulevard. So stay right here with the night team. We're going to bring you brand new updates in just moments now here on this broadcast, and WHAS11.com, of course, for updates throughout the evening. Our other top story for you tonight, what we're all going to be talking about tomorrow, that's the return of the extreme dangerous heat, with heat indexes at 100 degrees or higher. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us on the WHAS 1119. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell has more on the heat advisory and the air quality alerts already issued for tomorrow. Mallory?
Hey there, Doug. Yes, we do have that heat advisory from noon until 8 p.m. tomorrow, and I'm expecting many of these to be issued over the course of the next week because we are expecting really not a big change in our weather pattern for the next 7 days. A ridge of high pressure holding still. We have temperatures that will be climbing well into the 90s, likely the mid to maybe even upper 90s early next week. And we tack on the high humidity that's continuing to build in from the Gulf. You can see by tomorrow afternoon, we're expecting those heat indices well into the triple digits in Louisville and really all across Kentuckiana. Today, we did have some heat indices in the mid to upper 90s, but it was a pretty typical late July day, starting off in the lower 70s this morning, topping out in the lower 90s this afternoon. Today was also our last 9 p.m. sunset of the year. So we are really taking off about a minute or so of daylight each and every day this month. Temperatures right now are sitting in the 70s outside of Louisville, mid 80s currently in the city, and we are expecting overnight lows to only drop into the low to mid 70s. So not quite as refreshing as the last couple of nights. As that humidity starts to move back in here, of course, we're talking about the heat advisory. I'll let you know when we have the best chance for a cooling pop-up storm in the forecast. That's coming up in our 7-day. Doug.
Mallory, thank you. More breaking news here tonight. We have several late stories coming in of the Trump administration this evening and the president himself. All new tonight, a federal appeals court delivers another defeat to President Donald Trump's birthright citizenship executive order that he signed that order on the very first day in office. It placed sharp limits on eligibility for birthright citizenship and would no longer automatically grant citizenship at birth to children of immigrants in the United States without legal status. But the appeals court judges ruled the order was unconstitutional. The government is likely to appeal the decision back to the U.S. Supreme Court, where, of course, the president has seen many recent victories. We have more breaking news tonight. Columbia University in New York has now agreed late today to pay $200 million to the Trump administration to settle a fine and allegations it violated anti-discrimination laws. Columbia University will also pay an additional $21 million to settle investigations brought by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. In exchange, Columbia says the vast majority of the federal grants that were frozen or terminated will be restored. Columbia's interim president said last month that Columbia's top scientists are facing the decimation of decades of research with the funding loss. The university says the agreement codifies policy changes announced early this year, including restrictions on demonstrations on campus. And then new tonight, the stunning new details being reported by the Wall Street Journal. Donald Trump's name appearing several times in the secret Epstein files. The Wall Street Journal also learning from top administration sources that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed President Trump of this information back in May. The disclosure coming as part of a broader briefing on the re-examination of the case by the FBI agents and prosecutors. The officials telling Donald Trump they plan to not release any additional documents because the material contained personal information about the underage female victims. ABC News pressed the president with this question at the event.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review, and specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen.
Donald Trump is already suing the Wall Street Journal and its owner Rupert Murdoch after their story last week on the Epstein case. A House subcommittee today voted to subpoena the Department of Justice for files related to this ongoing story. And now only on the WHAS11 upping the reward money in the unsolved Bardstown murder case of Tommy Ballard, the father of Crystal Rogers. He was shot 16 months after Rogers was first reported missing, but still no arrests in Tommy's case. The Ballard family is asking for any new information that could lead to a possible arrest. The reward now stands at $50,000. Alexandra Goldberg went back to the scene of Tommy's killing with his brother Mike this afternoon. And Alexandra, of course, you covered the trial of Brooks Houck in the Crystal Rogers case. Does Mike believe that all of these cases are connected? That's been a big theory for many Bardstown residents.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, Tommy Ballard was leading the charge in those early days for searching for Crystal. His brother said he was out day and night in the woods and in the creeks looking for his daughter. And Mike Ballard says that could be the very motive for why someone wanted Tommy gone.
Well, it didn't seem real. And it was cold. It was 20 degrees or less and the wind was blowing, and to see Tommy laying down here, and he was in that field for so long.
Mike Ballard says his brother Tommy Ballard was in a relentless pursuit to find his missing daughter, Crystal Rogers.
He never gave
Until he took his final breath on November 19, 2016, shot dead on a hunting trip on his very own property in Bardstown, just over 1 year after Rogers was killed. A day forever etched into his brother Mike Ballard's memory.
Whatever he done, he gave it 100%. And he put that dedication into finding his daughter. Of course, that didn't happen. And I think that's Tommy's not here today. I think he was getting too close.
You think Brooks Houck is responsible for Tommy's murder?
I think he's definitely part of it, 100%.
Mike was there every day, watching the trial of Crystal's ex-boyfriend Brooks Houck and accomplice Joseph Lawson. After the two men were found guilty, even seen here hugging Nelson County Sheriff Raymond Pinaroa. Mike hanging on every word of prosecutor Shane Young.
The 2 weeks of the trial, I just didn't know. You know, it's just your emotions are here, they're there, you just don't know. But for me, when Shane Young did his closing arguments, I looked at my wife and daughter. And I said, they're going to prison.
He has a quick answer about what he would tell Tommy.
What would you say to him?
I'd say we got him.
Developments in Tommy's case have been minimal, but one bombshell came out in October 2023. Special prosecutor Shane Young believes authorities have the gun that killed Tommy, allegedly purchased by Nick Houck, who sold the gun to police using a fake name.
If Nick Houck killed my brother, then I hope that is the gun he used, and I hope he goes to prison too.
Nick Houck has long been called an unindicted co-conspirator, but he's never been arrested or charged.
Good point there. Now, you know, there's a reason that you talked with Mike Day, and that's this reward money to get the word out that it is now much bigger in Tommy's case. So how is it being funded? How did they get $30,000 more than it was originally standing at?
Funded entirely by the Ballard family. It started at $20,000, now $50,000. Again, the money is only sourced from the Ballard family. They aren't asking for any money from the public at this time, and they're pleading with the public, however, to come forward and find justice for Tommy.
All right, Alexander, thank you. Good interview tonight from Bardstown. Also new tonight, a Metro police officer has resigned before being fired for drinking while on duty. According to a May 2025 memo, former LMPD officer Blake Cooper was drinking on duty. Reports say that his breath smelled like alcohol, but he denied drinking. His behavior was unusual, according to police, and he admitted that he was drinking to celebrate hours before his shift. In today's Metro Police news conference, Paul Humphrey was asked about Cooper's resignation.
He is no longer a police officer. Like, that was the goal by terminating him. And so he quit in lieu of termination, which is his choice. And in doing so, he also forfeits his right to appeal that decision.
Former Officer Cooper was drinking or intoxicated while on duty November 25th. At this time, there have been no charges made. The University of Louisville is one of 5 schools under a civil rights investigation. The U.S. Department of Education will determine whether these universities are granting scholarships only for deferred action, childhood arrivals, or undocumented students. This is in violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a prohibition against national origin discrimination. Complaints were made by the Illegal Insurrection Foundation's Equal Protection Project, which seeks to ensure equal protection under the law and non-discrimination by the government in any form. All new tonight, the American dream in my old Kentucky home. It is the goal of the many Cubans who flock to Louisville for freedom. But through the changes in immigration policy under President Donald Trump, the pace of welcoming these Hispanics to our Derby City has changed. WHAS11 Night Team's Jose Alonso and photojournalist Emma Gefter spoke with a Cuban artist in the Portland neighborhood about depicting this journey.
We came to America because our countries, you know, in my case in Cuba is a dictatorship.
In this art gallery in Portland, it's through surrealism that Olguin Cuban native turned Louisvillian Julio César Rodriguez Aguilar depicts his story through paintings.
I open my chest like a theater, and people can see inside me wherever they want. In 2012, I decided to move to Louisville, Kentucky, looking for better opportunities, job opportunities, artistic opportunities.
One of those opportunities was taking part in the latest Louisville visual art display, Artistas Cubanos Chévere Exposición. The exhibit opened on July 11th with a large celebration.
Very clearly, a lot of people that came because it was about Cuba and Cuban artists.
Curator of the event, Keith Waits, showed us the various work from local Cubans, some of which is inspired by the Derby City.
This is maybe the only overt political statement, and it's called Cuba in the Shape of a Suffering Woman.
And current tension within immigration policy. Recently, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg addressed the pressure from the Trump administration. The U.S. Attorney General claimed the city was not in compliance with federal immigration law.
It's really sad to hear about that, because this country was built because immigrants. Some of my friends from Florida say, why Louisville, Kentucky? I say, I don't know, because I think this is one of the best city that welcomes you to America.
Aguilar credits part of his success from being an immigrant himself, although there are other Cubans trying to navigate a turbulent system.
Because we can change this in 4 years or maybe 8 years. That is the difference in Cuba. We suffer a dictatorship for more than 65 years. Just one president.
There is still a sense of optimism for Cuban families and friends to eventually find their freedom. In Louisville, Jose Alonso, WHAS11 Night Team, on your side.
By the way, Louisville Visual Art is on Lytle Street, and it's encouraging you to come see these pieces for yourself. The exhibit will stay up until August 24th. The former EMS company Jamie Knoll has filed for bankruptcy. Utica Township Volunteer Firefighters Association, or New Chapel EMS as it was better known to the public, released a letter today saying the damage from Knoll was too great to come back from. Jamie Knoll admitted to spending over $3 million on himself, his family, and friends using New Chapel credit cards while he served as the Clark County Indiana Sheriff. New Chapel spokesman Coy Travis says they had to plan to downsize their fleet but were stopped by court orders. He went on to tell us that as a result they did not sell their assets and had no choice but to file for bankruptcy protection and reorganization under the Chapter 11 code. A family is suing the Louisville Jail, saying the jail administration and 3 officers didn't do enough to save their son's life in 2024 when he was in jail as an inmate. Richard Graham, a story we've been telling you about, died May 19, 2024 inside the Louisville Jail from a drug overdose. 2 corrections officers, were reprimanded for not performing proper cell checks in the hours before he died. John Little, an attorney for the family, says understaffing and overcrowding of the jail contributed to Richard Graham's death.
Maybe if there weren't so many people there that day and every day for things that they don't need to be, then the staff could give the appropriate attention to each person, right, that they should be given.
The jail would not give any comment today other than to say it doesn't comment on pending litigation. Director Jerry Collins says the jail is doing a much better job stopping the flow of drugs, and the data shows overdose deaths have been going down.